We're in a very interesting time, and you are probably the most passionate person I hear talk about this, about the urgency, the real urgency that there is for us to change the way that we're living in this world, right? Could you address that a little bit? Because most people don't understand. They understand, they hear it in the news, they hear it in the background, but they don't really know the urgency of why we need to make some changes as humans.
It's super sad, man. You know, I honestly, I did my major research and focus phase probably back in between 2014, 15, and 16.
Right.
But, you know, I really talk to people. I'm like, how much time have you spent investing in your current career just to become halfway decent at it, right?
Right.
And then how much time do you need to invest to become an expert?
Yes.
A lot, right?
A lot.
And until you're an expert, you don't really know a whole lot, you know.
Right.
So then I ask everybody, how much time have you invested in understanding climate change?
Not a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what's utterly sad.
Yes.
Is that all of us, we don't invest in nothing.
Right.
We read a news article, we read of this, we read of that, and we assume we know. We don't know shit.
Right.
When you really invest the time in the research, the way you would when you're trying to learn how to be an expert at something,
Yes.
your whole perspective on the world will change. So I don't even really promote it much anymore because I just kind of feel like at this point, the world is on its own trajectory with this, and I just hope we get it right.
Wow.
But you know, there's no question that the future that our children grow up in will be very different than the one we grew up in, and there's no changing. You know, there's only slowing it down. So I don't think we're going to limit the temperature shift to to less than 2 degrees Celsius. So when you dive in and you start understanding the real impacts of what could happen on this planet, you know, between 2 to 5 degrees Celsius, you know, you'll fight for it, right?
Yeah.
You'll fight. We should all be treating this like it's World War III.
Right.
Like every one of those carbon molecules are little Nazi soldiers that are coming to take our future.
Yes.
And we're just getting tiny little glimpses of it, man. I mean, the heat waves that are happening across the entire planet right now, we're going to look back on this 20 years from now, and we're going to be like, remember how good it was when it was 105 degrees outside?
Wow.
Remember how good that was?
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, humanity has made its choice. And at this point, unless there's a radical transformation around how we get the carbon back out of the atmosphere, we've already set the course, man. And now we're just trying to fight so that it does not go so over 2 degrees that we can't predict the kinds of things that could happen.
Got it.
You know, the permafrost melting, which there's so much methane stored under that permafrost. That's the kind of thing that, you know, it really could end life.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand, like there's mass extinctions that have happened on this planet 6 times.
Yes.
And every one of them was climate change related.
Wow.
Now, some of them were related to a meteor hitting.
Sure.
But the impact was it changed the climate.
Yeah.
You know, others were related to volcanic eruptions. The impact was it changed the climate.
Yeah.
So mass extinction happens through climatic change. And organisms cannot adapt to climatic change fast enough. If all of a sudden it's 20 degrees hotter, and, you know, there's massive implications on water across the planet, we can't even begin to wrap our brain around the trickle-down effect of that on organisms.
Yeah.
And all the organisms that depend on those organisms, depend on those organisms, depend on those organisms. How does that affect the whole chain?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's a compound effect.
It's so complex.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why people don't do the research, because it's so fucking complex.
That's true.
But until you dive into that complexity and really understand just how complex it is, you are clueless as to what we are playing with, the fire that we are playing with. Which is why the best strategy is just don't play with fire.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
Don't go there.
Right.
You want to have a strategy to make a great future? Just take the risk off the table. Don't play with fire.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we've got too many special interests and the fossil fuel industry and too many industries are so vastly large, and our global society is so dependent on trillions of dollars that are tied to really carbon producing industries that unwinding all that. Wow, is that complex? And the solutions are even complex. You can't get all off oil. What the hell? We don't have an ability to get off oil. So it's like this is just such a complex thing. Like we really need all hands on deck, rebuilding the whole infrastructure from vehicles to transportation to heavy machinery to industrial and manufacturing to residential to appliances to electrification to energy generation, all of it. And I am hopeful by the fact that I am, and we are all just one entrepreneur out of countless that are focused on solving these problems. But we sure got a lot more we got to do and a lot faster, brother.
Yeah. And entrepreneurs are the ones that are going to solve this. Well, not solve it, but help aid, what's going on. And you certainly are, in my eyes, I mean, you're one of the ones in the world that's leading this, because the way that your company is growing and the impact that we're doing, when we look at those proposals and we see, how many tons of CO2 offset there is, right? And equivalent of how many trees that we're planting. When we're seeing that, hey, we're making a real impact. I really, being a father like you, I think now a lot more, and then being involved in this industry, those two things, being involved in this industry, being a father, I think of the world that I'm leaving for my kids and for other people's kids and grandchildren. I don't only want to leave better kids for this planet, but I want to leave a better planet for these kids in the future generation. So when I heard you talking about it, matter of fact, in that stage back there, you were very passionate one day, and then at the convention, when they were talking about some of those things, I mean, I think there wasn't a single eye that wasn't crying, right? People were walking. I saw a lady walk out of the room crying and stuff. It was just,
and that's the right emotion.
Yeah.
We should be crying.
Right.
When you see 50% of all species of life on Earth have been extinct.
That's crazy.
Extincted over the last 100 years. And that is just going to accelerate.
Right.
Because of how we are changing the climate.
Yep.
You should cry.
Yeah.
Those are life forms that are extinct. They're never coming back.
That's crazy.
And that's us.
Yeah.
We should cry.
Right.
We should be upset.
Yeah.
It's natural.
Yeah.
We got to change. And I think the healthy embracing of those emotions helps us change our behavior.
Yeah.
And there's real behavior change. And, we're fighting for that future, man. So.
Hey, thanks for watching the podcast. If you like this short clip, here's another short clip that you'll enjoy. And if you want to watch the full episode, click right here. That being said, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe.